pain? What if part of you does not want to be healed? Not because you enjoy suffering. Not because you are weak. But because somewhere beneath awareness, your suffering has become useful. Most people believe pain is something they are trying to escape. Yet if that were entirely true, human behavior would be much easier to understand. Again and again, people return to the same destructive patterns. The same toxic relationships. The same regrets. The same fears. The same stories. Consciously, they want freedom. Unconsciously, something keeps pulling them back. This raises an uncomfortable question. What if suffering is not only a burden? What if it is also a reward? Victimhood. There is a strange comfort in having someone to blame. When life goes wrong, responsibility can feel overwhelming. A victim, however, has an explanation. The fault belongs elsewhere. The cause is already known. The story is already written. This does not mean suffering is imagined. Real injustice exists. Real wounds exist. But the identity built around those wounds can become difficult to abandon. Because healing requires more than recovering from pain. It requires surrendering the role that pain created. And sometimes the role feels safer than the unknown that follows it. Resentment. Some people carry resentment for years. Not because they enjoy anger. Because anger keeps the wound alive. As long as resentment remains, the past remains unfinished. The mind continues replaying old injuries, searching for a different ending. The person who caused the damage remains psychologically present, even if they disappeared long ago. Resentment feels like power. It feels like refusing to let injustice win. Yet over time it often becomes a prison disguised as protection. The wound survives because the mind refuses to release it. Self-pity. Self-pity is not simply sadness. It is sadness mixed with surrender. For a brief moment, self-pity removes pressure. If the world is entirely responsible, then action is unnecessary. If nothing can be changed, then nothing needs to be attempted. The feeling is painful. But hidden within that pain is relief. Relief from uncertainty. Relief from risk. Relief from the possibility of failure. Many people believe they fear suffering. Sometimes they fear responsibility even more. The familiar. Human beings do not always choose what is healthy. They often choose what is familiar. A person raised around criticism may feel uneasy when treated with kindness. Someone accustomed to chaos may become uncomfortable in stability. What is familiar feels predictable, and what is predictable feels safe. The mind is designed to recognize patterns. Unfortunately, it does not always distinguish between patterns that help us and patterns that hurt us. As a result, suffering can begin to feel like home. Meaning. Pain has a unique ability to create meaning. Struggle can become purpose. Hardship can become identity. A person may begin seeing themselves as the survivor, the outsider, the misunderstood one, the wounded one. These stories help organize experience. They transform chaos into something understandable. But every identity comes with a cost. The more meaning attached to suffering, the harder suffering becomes to release. Because letting go of the pain may also mean letting go of the story built around it. The hidden pleasure. The hidden pleasure of suffering is not happiness. It is familiarity. It is certainty. It is identity. It is the comfort of knowing who you are, even when who you are is hurting. That is why some wounds remain open long after they could have healed. Not because healing is impossible, but because healing demands a sacrifice. The sacrifice is not the pain. The sacrifice is everything the pain has quietly been providing. The final question. Most people believe their greatest obstacle is suffering itself. Perhaps the greater obstacle is the part of them that has learned to depend on it. The part that finds certainty in struggle. Meaning in wounds. Identity in hardship. Because once the suffering disappears, something else disappears with it. The explanation. the story, the role. And then a different question emerges. A question far more difficult than pain. If I am no longer defined by what hurt me, who am I?